Joining me today, we have Rory Quinn from Yukon Metals. Rory, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Rory, here we are at Beaver Creek. You're our second interview, and I'm sure you've got lots of meetings lined up. This is one of my favorite conferences, probably my favorite, with no disrespect to any of the other conferences. But precious metals is the theme here. Most people here are gold bulls. I can see that you have decided to take a portion of your life and focus on running a gold exploration company, copper, zinc, but gold, I assume, is your passion. Why do you like gold? Where do you see it heading?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in the gold precious metal space for a long time. Before I was a CEO, I've had a couple of CEO roles now, but I was with Wheaton Precious Metals before that. So that's my background. Yeah, I mean, as a store of value, obviously gold is unparalleled and has always been a wonderful inflation hedge. So you know, it's helped me buy my house, gold. So I'm a strong believer. And then silver is, I think Randy Smallwood used to call it the affordable, the everyman's gold, right? Yeah. The affordable precious metal. I'm a big believer in silver too, and we put out a news release this morning of 10,000 grams per ton silver sampled at our key asset in the Yukon Star River. And this is a Birdall family property. Okay. They floated their gold assets, primary gold assets, as Snowline a few years ago, obviously being wonderfully successful. Yukon Metals was floated as the Birdall family copper gold and silver lead zinc. Okay. Albeit so far we've had more gold and silver results than base metal results, really. I mean, we're seeing some really interesting copper across the properties. But at Birch, for instance, where we're seeing copper gold, we sampled up to 1 gram per ton in soils across 1,400 meters. So really meaningful distance, really tight cluster. And in that was 2% copper again, 0.2% copper, I should say, in soils as well. And so, when we sampled rocks at Birch, we saw 14 grams per ton gold and 0.4% copper. So we're seeing some really interesting stuff there. At Birch, we'll get in there and do IP survey that will tell us a lot about the bedrock there, give us a lot more understanding. At Star River, which is where we saw the silver this morning, so 10,000 grams per ton sample. In fact, over that, it's still pending over assay. We had multiple assays over 15 grams per ton silver, sampled up to 6.9, multiple samples of up to 6.9 grams per ton gold. The opportunity there is we're seeing these samples at various and showings at various areas around the property. To me, they look like the same rocks, but they'll go through the truth machine at ALS, and we'll see the assays and see to what extent they are exactly the same rocks or very similar. And then we've already completed our electromagnetic survey. We have a gravity survey ongoing now. That will give us a much better sense of the continuity between all of the showings we're seeing over this property. And yeah, I mean, and so that's what you're going to see from us now is more pieces of the jigsaw puzzle come together at Birch and at Star, where we have hundreds more of these samples that look like the same rocks that have sampled up to 10,000 grams per ton silver. You're going to see more of those over the next coming months, and then you're going to see a sort of more of a 30,000 foot look at how these things all connect, and to the extent that there's continuity between them, then we've got a project, I think.
So high level, what's the structure of the company? How much cash do you have on the balance sheet? Do you guys own, I assume, 100% of the projects?
Yeah, we do. So yeah, we purchased these from the Birdall family company. Again, the company, the group that prospected and founded all of the assets for Snowline.
For our audience, in case anybody doesn't know who you're referring to, that's Snowline Gold, which is pretty much, I think, the consensus discovery of the year of 2023 would be probably fair to say.
Yeah, and they just keep on coming up with tremendous, incredible results. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be it's one of the most terrific gold discoveries ever in Canada, right? And it looks like incredibly robust numbers.
And they came out with a maiden resource estimate of, what was it, 6 million ounces?
6 or 7 million ounces, but they just keep coming, right? I mean, it's just hundreds of meters of economic seeming grade, right? Like 4, 5, 6 grams per ton. So, I mean, incredibly robust figure. So, so when we did that transaction, so purchased 100% of these assets from the Birdall family, and so when we did the deal, we raised $15 million. $2 million of that went to the Birdall family as part of the transaction. We assumed roughly about $1 million in bills through legal and doing all of the transaction and also just raising the capital, the fees for that. Which left us with about 12. We've spent about $2 million since then in the field, and pretty small G&A, like pretty well a bit of a one-man band here, and so we've got 10 million left in the bank as we sit here.
So the next question is going to be: we're going to see drills in the ground?
Yeah, well, that's what we'll be showing the market and our investors is, as I mentioned, how all of these various showings at Star River, how they connect, the continuity that exists between them. The potential continuity that exists between them, and then we'll provide a drill plan to the market and to our investors.
Now, I can't chat with a company about exploration in the Yukon and not bring up Victoria Gold. How does that impact you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, a really unfortunate thing that happened there with Victoria Gold. I mean, obviously they've since gone into receivership. I think they'll obviously be working to clean that up. I don't sense that it's going to have a lasting effect over all of the Yukon. I mean, it's not a monolith. There's various different geographies, different communities that.
Are you guys under the Nacho Nyakdan tribes jurisdiction?
There's one asset of ours is. So we have let's say 17 assets. Okay. And our top 5 assets are all permitted. We got all of those permitted. So the First Nation that you referenced, we have one property of all of those. Probably ranks about, I'd say, 7th or 8th in our priority list as far as strategically. And so they have asked that we that we take our time or take a couple of months before we ask for our permitting there. I think they've been entirely reasonable with us, but like I said, it's would not be in our top 5 assets. Not is in the northern portion, closer to Vic Gold and Mayo and some of those territories. With 3 of our territories, 2 of our really key assets, Birch and AZ, that is in Kluane territory, where we've been building a really strong relationship. They actually own and operate themselves an exploration and outfitting company who we've been working with. So they've set up our Star River camp, our Birch camp. They did line cutting for us. They've been invaluable partners, and in turn we've tried to share knowledge of how we go about soil sampling using soil drills. And how we go, and so they're building a company, buying more equipment, and becoming experts in the exploration business. So it's, as I would say, it's the communities, First Nations, and the Yukon is not a monolith, right? There's multiple folks have different interests and different in their own. On their land, right? And so in Kluane territory, we've had a wonderful time there and a great relationship. And of our 7 assets or 8, we've already permitted like 5, right? And so so I think we're doing quite well there. Since Vic Gold, since that incident, we've permitted 2 of those 5. Okay. So I would say, what I would say is we've jumped through a few more hoops, which you would expect. I think that's to be expected here. But we've filled out forms that we've never filled out before, and might have waited a few more weeks to get our permits. But other than that, I think it seems entirely reasonable, and which is just working the process, and so we really haven't had any problem.
So I got to ask, you guys are a relatively new issuer in Canada. We've seen a lot of shenanigans in the junior markets. The names you're involved with are not names I would associate with those, but there's still going to be people on the message boards wondering about the average price paid for shareholders. If I am an investor and I'm a retail investor buying shares open market, how can I feel comfortable that there aren't, half a cent penny shares that are just going to be flying at me? Can you talk a little bit about the cap table?
I see. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think we bought the Birdall portfolio. So that was, I don't know how many shares is that. So that was 25 million shares we paid for that, and then we raised the 15 million. That was 40 million shares, and there was roughly 20 million shares existing in the company before that. So before we bought that asset, and so. Yeah, the folks that were involved there, so Keith Neumeyer helped put the company together, as he did with Snowline, I think.
Who's had a ton of success with other deals.
Incredible success. Well, helped put Snowline together, helped put Yukon Metals together, was responsible for pulling me into this opportunity. Well, of course, First Majestic. Yeah. So wonderful track record. And so, yeah, I mean, he helped bring this to the table. So certainly, yeah, I think the chairman of the company, Pat Burke, who's the former head of capital markets at Canaccord, was involved in this company as well. Really good group of people. The investor list that came in to our company, and we're now all of that $15 million we raised. That's free trading now. So there's no overhang there. That's free trading, And I should say that the folks that came in, I mean, there's $5 million of it was through Canaccord, $5 million through Haywood, and like a who's who of the biggest sort of brokers at Haywood, Crescat, Crescat. I was going to say Commodity Capital, and so some really good money. So this is really good sticky money to get. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you can judge our performance so far, right? As we raised at a mix between 30 and 45 cents, right? So it was when we raised the capital, it was shares at 30 cents, and then at 45 cents with it. So half of the money would come in at 30 cents, half at 45 cents with a 60-cent half warrant, right? And so. Essentially, probably the middle of that is about 36, 37 cents. Yesterday, I think we closed at 40. Okay. Right, and so people, these shares are being free trading, right? So I mean, I'm hopeful and expect that we'll trade higher than this, given the news that we had today and we have coming. But we have a market here. We're trading 300, 400,000 shares a day. Yeah. So I think I don't think that's a significant concern. No.
It sounds very clean. I like to ask new issuers that question because I know that's something that retail investors are always concerned about.
Absolutely.
So last question for you. If I am an investor watching or I'm thinking about investing, what am I looking out for over, say, the rest of the year or the relatively near term?
I think what you'll see from us is us provide more and more information on certainly 2 assets, Birch and Star River. You'll see us provide, I think, a compelling case at Birch that this requires a major drilling program to over this 1,400 meters of gold and copper that we're seeing there. We think, I mean, we've got to do the work, but we think we're sitting on a copper gold porphyry. Right, and so I think you'll see that, and we'll come to the market and to our investors with a lot more information through the IP and the further work that we're doing from a 30,000 foot level. And then at Star River, you'll see more information from more showings, more rocks. I suspect of incredibly high grade, like we just reported this morning. And then you'll see information from us showing the potential continuity between all of the showings we're seeing over hundreds and hundreds of meters in various directions. And then again, you'll see from us a comprehensive plan to drill that property. And yeah, I think that's what you're going to see from us.
All right, thanks for hopping on today. I think you guys have a really interesting project. The names that are involved, if you're a junior mining investor, I think merit a little bit more due diligence, and hopefully you'll keep coming back on here in the future as you go and find the next Snowline level discovery.
That's great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Rory.
Cheers.